Professor George Vithoulkas, as everyone knows, does not need any introduction. However, it is my privilege to be introducing him to you all today. Professor George Vithoulkas is internationally recognized as the personality who revived classical homeopathy in our times. He is the teacher of the majority of contemporary teachers and became famous because of the information he gave to his students worldwide. Thousands of doctors have been educated by him, and many became teachers of homeopathy. This is the sole reason homeopathic movement has revived all over the world. Professor George Vithoulkas is the only teacher that enables students to attend all his live cases and explains the method of taking a case, analyzing it, and how to arrive at the right decision of a remedy. But the most important advantage for the students is that they can see the follow-ups and what happened with the prescription. In this way, he shows the students the whole process of treating a case and therefore reveals the complete information about the application of classical homeopathy. This process is actually replacing the process that takes place in conventional medical hospitals. His knowledge comes through the untiring efforts in the last 60 years to improve through practice, constant research, the standards of education in order that the classical Hahnemannian homeopathy will be accepted by medical university, as well as many international awards and applauds. George Vithoulkas is today honorary professor at the University of Aegean, Greece, honorary professor at Javeriana Medical University, Columbia, honorary professor at the Moscow Medical Academy, Academy of Medical Sciences, honorary professor at the State Medical University of Chuvash Republic, Russia, honorary professor of the National Educational Center for Traditional and Complementary Medicine, again Russia, professor at the Kiev Medical Academy, honorary professor of PHEE, which is Kiev Medical University, honorary professor at Dnipro Medical Institute of Complementary and Alternative Medicine, Ukraine, collaborating professor at the Basque Medical University from 2001 to 2004, Dr. Honoris Causa of Dr. Victor Babes, University of Medicine and Pharmacy at Timisoara, Romania, and Dr. Honoris Causa of Ilioj Petriaganu, University of Medicine and Pharmacy of Cluj-Napoca, Romania. Also, he is Senior Associate Member of Royal Society of Medicine, UK. In 1980, Professor George Vithoulkas was invited by the World Health Organization to write the first article on homeopathy for their book, Traditional Medicine, as well as the main article in the roundtable discussion for the WHO's scientific magazine, the World Health Forum Journal. In 1996, Professor Vithoulkas was honored with the Right Livelihood Award, also known as the Alternative Nobel Prize, for his outstanding contribution to the revival of homeopathic knowledge and the training of homeopaths to the highest standards. In 1996, he was invited by the European Parliament to explain the position of homeopathy, and after his representation, the European Parliament voted in favor of homeopathy. In 1999, he was requested by the Council of Europe to make a day-long presentation on homeopathic medicine as part of their evaluation of alternative therapeutic methods before the Social Health and Family Affairs Committee. In 2000, he was honored with the Gold Medal of Hungarian Republic by the country's president, Arpad Gnos, for his work in homeopathic medicine. In 2000, he was also awarded by the Minister of Health in India with a gold medal as the Homeopath of the Millennium. In 2012, he was honored with the Honorary Award of National Medical Academy of Postgraduate Education in Ukraine, named after P.I. Shupyuk. George Vithoulkas, Honorary Professor, a distinguished scholar and a teacher. In 2020, he also received an extraordinary distinction from the Royal Society of Medicine as they decided to add his name in the prestigious RSM Wall of Honor. His main contributions to medicine are the following: the levels of health, the continuum of a unified theory of diseases, the definition of health, how can healthier children be born, the science of homeopathy, the new model for health and disease, the Metra Medica Viva. On 1st June 2010, the International Academy of Classical Homeopathy was launched, the e-learning program in classical homeopathy. The details can be obtained from www.vithoulkas.edu.gr. The details will be sent to you in the chat box. You can also, this course was specially designed by Professor George Vithoulkas and his team in Alonissos, Greece. This course is an academic and online course based on the highest educational standards according to the principles of Samuel Hahnemann, accredited by many medical universities worldwide. I will be providing you the link in which you will find research papers by Professor George Vithoulkas and his research team, and also his books. And his books have been translated to more than 35 languages. Welcome this afternoon, Professor. I know it's afternoon in Greece.
Hello.
Yes, Professor. Yeah, good afternoon and welcome you again.
I'm glad to be speaking in the Australian Homeopathic Association. I hope soon I will come to your country.
Oh, yes.
I have it in my mind.
Yes.
So, because I feel at this moment that Australia is the best country for peace of mind.
Oh, that's very kind of
the
Professor.
whole other world is in a terrible state of anxiety and terror and frightful situations.
Yes.
So thank you, Divya, for giving this long distinction lecture. And I'm afraid that people listening to all these distinctions, they will expect to get enlightenment within this half an hour I'm going to talk.
Professor, it's just small. It's just small introduction.
Is not true. But anyhow, the distinctions actually were perhaps necessary for the establishment of homeopathy, as I don't feel in myself that I have attained anything actually. I feel that still there is a long way to reach the target, which is to have this divine science as a main therapeutic modality in the world. And as the program was saying, I'm supposed to talk about the continuum of a unified theory of diseases.
Yes.
Something I wrote many years ago, and perhaps it's something is not yet clearly understood. So at this moment, I feel that I have to give you a more complete idea of what I meant by writing this article and by bringing forth this idea of the continuum. It is the continuum of a life of a person from the time of birth to the time of his death, and what happens during this span of time. Now, before I go to the more technical details of this matter.
Yes.
I want to settle the discussion into more basic things.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the basic things? We are human beings having given a life to live, and in this life,
Yes.
what we have to do is to try to make our life meaningful, to understand why we are here, why we have come here, to understand the issue of how can I say, the issue of love, the issue of connection, and in all this way, we are faced on two opposites, the positive side and the negative side. The positive side, as far as the physical body is concerned, is that we have an immune system, a defense mechanism, which tries to keep us alive and to keep us also on the highest level of our being. At the same time, within us, it is ingrained, it's within our system, the idea of death, the idea of fighting all the time to destroy, to bring down, to come down to the lowest part of our human beings. Okay. So in this struggle between life and death, we have certain functions, like we breathe in order to survive, we eat in order to survive, etc. And I just want to say a few things concerning the feeding of our bodies, which on the material side, our body feeds with the material food. But we are, all of us, having three different parts: the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental body, spiritual body. Okay. So the physical body is fed on normal food. The emotional body is feeding on the impressions that we receive in life. Our emotional body is structured and is formed according to the different impressions that we have received from the babyhood till adulthood in our life. And we'll come back to this idea later on to speak about the stresses that the human body receives and what happens in our emotional body because of these stresses. Now, the spiritual or the mental part of us feeds on ideas. If we don't perceive ideas, if we don't create, then that means our spiritual part, our highest part in us, will dwindle, will become smaller and smaller. And now if we look back to this human being, why he is here, what he's going to do, what he must do, what is the meaning of his life, we will come to the conclusion, I think every one of us, that we have to serve the highest part of us, the part of us which is the spiritual part and the part which feeds with ideas. So the more high the ideas are, the more how can I say, the more spiritual. I don't like the word, but you see, a person who has visions, and the visions are such that includes the well-being of others, is a person I consider which is fulfilling his role in our earth. So if we are dealing with ideas that will help ourselves, but also help others, we are on the right track. And our system works harmoniously. You see, once we feed with good impressions, nice impressions, and have high ideas, high visions, the organism, our organism, is in balance. So I have realized when I was treating people, with big numbers of people, and taking the information from them to help them with their health, I have found out that these impressions that somebody had in his childhood even, if they were severe, negative, and hurting the person, these impressions were formulating the condition for the predisposition we have to manifest chronic diseases. So the same thing would happen with the mental, with the ideas. Once the ideas were around ourselves and our only and ideas concerning only ourselves and how we'll live better, and we are we are concerned with what to eat, with the lower parts of our being and concerning ourselves only, then we are preparing also physically the body to become sick and to stay sick. So I realized actually what has happened was that since birth, if a baby who had an external problem in the skin was treated with love and care and not with aggressive means to suppress this skin eruption, the baby would reset the organism and his organism will continue to be in a good, harmonious state. But if this externalization of the problem caused by our negative side, the skin eruption, if it was pushed back inside through a strong cream or whatever application you may be putting on the skin eruption, this organism would need to rearrange his harmony. That means to make a recession, to make a kind of dealing. He will say, okay, I will lose some of my harmony, some of my balance in order to survive. So I will become more sensitive to the bacteria and to the fungi and to the microbes. So the baby will develop, if it was treated wrongly, will develop a pneumonia in the second year, which will be quite severe. And then if this pneumonia is not treated properly, and the pneumonia is strong, is severe, and then the chemical drugs to cure the pneumonia are also strong drugs, that could suppress again the organism and leave a mark on the immune system, and the organism will remember both the time of suppression of the skin eruption and the time of suppression of an infection with bacteria or microbes. So the person survives and continues his life, but still he has made a compromise. And this compromise is engrafted in his immune system. And he will never forget it, cannot forget it. Though may not remember the facts, but the organism always remember in a subconscious level, I could say. So this child develops, and his already traumatized through these events. And because he's traumatized of these events, the child is more restless, and it's more anxious and more irritable, and starts behaving towards the parents in a nasty way. And the parents, they don't realize what's happening with the child, and they hit the child, and the child gets an impression about the world, about where am I? This is a bad world where somebody who is powerful can hit me and can kill me. And this impression, especially if they were bullying the child very much, the expression will again remain within the subconscious mind, within the immune system. And the person will remember this traumatic experience, whereas his father, mother have timorism, punished, has punished that child very severely, etc. And the child now makes another compromise. And he says, now I have to be, not to express my feelings, not to express my fears, otherwise I will be punished. And that remains in the child. And the child grows with this previous history, because there is a continuum, a continuous engraftment within his defense mechanism. And he grows up and he falls in love at the age of 17, 19, falls in love with somebody else. And because of that previous conditioning, his behavior is not very harmonious. He has feelings of lack of self-confidence. He has feelings of fear of being punished, fear of being rejected. And he expresses that in his contact with others in a way as to almost cause the other person to reject him. And then this person at the age of 18, 19, 20, out of his first love affair, gets a rejection. So that person at the age of 25 or 26 comes with an autoimmune disease, with a collagen disease, with a neuromuscular disease. He has diseases, neuromuscular diseases like multiple sclerosis, like amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, like myopathy, etc., where the paralysis is the main feature within the child. So all this process within the human body, if the organism is not able to reset the organism every time after the shock, then we'll end up with autoimmune disease quite early in life. So the homeopath, so the what do people want? They want me to continue speaking, and then if there is no much time for answers, or I must stop and answer the questions. You tell me what the people say.
Some of the attendees want you to just continue talking, and we also would like to just sit and hear you. However, I've just
Continue
got
talking, and I will answer the questions when I come to Australia.
Yes, Professor. A few questions we can ask at the end.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
But let me complete the picture.
Yes, please.
I gave a very grim picture, of course, and then we eventually reach the stage of age, the age of age, the era of age. Eventually, what has happened with age is, as they call it, a compromised immune system. It's age means a compromised immune system. So the compromise means what I described before. You see, the organism gets an onslaught, gets a stress, gets an invasion, cannot handle it, so it compromises and becomes less healthy in order to survive, in order to continue living. So the age is the symbol of what has happened in our contemporary life. We had to compromise in order to survive. But compromise what? Mostly to compromise our highest ideals. You see, we started taking away the harmony within the spiritual part of us, and then eventually, and becoming empty of ideas, empty of high visions for the world, etc. And then, with the impressions we are born and having experienced, we are losing very much the emotions. The emotions become less and less vivid. And one can say that the emotions become almost dead. And then the individual of today appears to be a very hard individual, a very hard individual that does not care about anything else but himself. So I observed that this was happening all along, and that this was a kind of lowering the, how can I say, lowering the greatness of the humans, the greatness of what a human being can be in its total balance of health. By compromising, the compromise comes from the mental, spiritual part, mostly. And then the compromise on the emotional part makes dead the feelings, makes them hard, the feelings are hard, etc. And then the physical disease appear. So this is something that, according to my understanding, of course, I don't know if I'm correct, but maybe I'm outside of the reality. But at the same time, I have seen that by prescribing correctly, giving the first remedy, even in a compromised organism, giving the first remedy carefully, and then going to the second remedy eventually, and then treating further, etc. I found out that the experience of the people who stay to have the treatment, correct treatment in homeopathy, that these people, they say to me that their life has changed. They have become again alive. They have become again with feelings, with emotions, and with love, etc. So there is a rejuvenation of the organism. Through what? Through a small dose of a remedy that has been chosen correctly and not superficially. And this is what I have tried to teach my students to take care, really. I mean, it's difficult, I know, to take a full case, to evaluate it, to find out which is the uppermost remedy which is indicated, and to prescribe correctly also with the potency. That means a person who has set himself down to learn properly the system that Hahnemann gave us and left for us to use it. So when I see that there is a possibility of a rejuvenation, when I see that treating a person for his physical elements eventually comes out with his harassment, his stress in life he had when he was 12 years old. And that time he needed Ignacia. And then eventually Ignacia is prescribed and takes away the grief. And eventually goes back even to the very early stage of his life where the skin eruption was manifesting. And then you prescribe for that. And then you see a rejuvenated person after 3, 4, 5 years of treatment, of course. Then you say, my God, this is something I need to give out to the humanity. And for the last 60 years in my life, I have dedicated absolutely myself, completely dedicated to this mission. I don't know if I will succeed or I mean, it's not a matter of I will succeed. It's a matter whether the teachings of Hahnemann will open the eyes of the people in the right direction. Because unfortunately, homeopathy has been mistreated itself, has been mistreated and has become sick. So to bring back the harmony of Hahnemann and to bring back the genius of Hahnemann, what he gave us, and to use it properly, that tool, to rejuvenate humanity, is a great goal for human beings, and especially those who feel that they need to help humanity in an essential way, not just words. Just saying to a person who is in deep depression, please don't be in depression. You have everything. You are rich. You are having everything you desire in your life. Why you are in depression? Get out of the depression. How? The people cannot get out of the depression. You see, once you give the remedy, the person gets out of the depression. That means this tool is so important for humanity at this moment. So important. It's unbelievable. And yet, it is the only modality, therapeutic modality, which is fought against all kinds of herbal therapies, music therapies, flower therapies, color therapies, are allowed to be promoted through all the channels all over the world, etc. Once somebody comes out and talks about homeopathy, oh my God, must be dead, must be killed. As that is the state of humanity we have arrived at this moment. How can we get out of it? I don't know. There is this tool that Hahnemann has given us, and I hope we use it. We use it properly. Because by using it wrongly, there is no effect really, apart from accidental cures that happen, of course. By mistake, you give the correct remedy and a good effect happens. But those who really want to help humanity, you see, they have to sit down and study. And as I said, I have provided a kind of curriculum, which is, as you said, was given. Why so many medical schools gave me the title of honorary professor? Why? Because I provided them with this teaching tool in the e-learning program. And I said to them, okay, teach as a postgraduate course your students. And unfortunately, the countries which are the most, how can I say, technologically advanced. They don't want to believe in homeopathy. They want to believe in attacking a disease with means which are really aggressive. It's like slapping a child. It's the same thing. Whether you slap a child and the child falls unconscious, and giving all these chemical drugs, especially whatever they discover every time, by giving them, it's like slapping the immune system, destroying eventually the whole immune system. And once it's destroyed, then they open and the kidneys are in dialysis, and the heart is replaced by another heart, and the liver can be also replaced, and all these crazy things for me, from my understanding. It's unbelievable that people believe in these kind of things, and they don't want to investigate and to find out what happens with the right practice of homeopathy. So if I gave this information for the first time to my beloved children of Australia, and for the sake of the association, of the Australian Association. And I hope you will make a good use of the information. I want to stress this fact that if homeopathy was a prevalent system of therapy, so people had access since babyhood. You see, when the babies are treated and have a reset of the organism, and then later on they are treated correctly and they have a reset again of the organism will not compromise, will not give up his line of defense, because the organism has different lines of defense. And once you push him, he goes into another level, which is lower. And then you push again the disease back, it's another lower. So eventually, we bring humanity to its lowest instincts, which is to survive. That means eating and sleeping and having sex, having pleasure of sex. And this, once the individual reaches that state, and the individual is not responsible himself, responsible is the authorities of our societies, which allowed this to happen to him. And this is something that has to change. Otherwise, we will be doomed to we will have a very, very bad. My prediction is quite bad for humanity at this moment, I'm afraid. Anyhow, we have left 5 minutes for, you want to ask something?
There's quite a lot of questions coming up, Professor. I'm very sorry, I have to be very choosy with the questions. So, can probiotic therapy be suppressive?
Probiotics. I am not an expert in probiotics. I cannot talk. I only know some people who have used it, and of course, if they come to me, that means they are sick. And so they say the probiotic did not help, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yes. More questions coming up. Okay. When you say about the chief complaint.
Chief complaint.
Yes. Can you explain observations on fungal infection patients? Your observations with fungal infections when you're talking about fungal infections.
Fungal infection. I have an idea, of course, about it, which I have written many years ago in my book, A New Model for Health and Disease, that fungal infection has been spread due to the fact that penicillin was used extensively at a certain period of time, and penicillin is a kind of fungus, and they inserted fungi into the organism, which were able to eat the bacteria. And there was an impressive effect, but at the same time, the organism integrated the fungi into the system, and then we had the explosion of fungal diseases that were quite severe. So, thank you very much, everybody who attended this seminar, and I would like to hear your feedback if you have some.
Yes.
And wish to all of you to have good health, balanced health, and balanced mental, emotional, and physical bodies. Bye-bye.
Thank you.